Is it okay as Christians to be ambitious professionally? I know a lot of Christians feel guilty about it. They would probably say no. But I say yes. Keep watching and I'll tell you why. Hi, my name is Shawn Sommerkamp, and this is Motivationeer Christian Coaching. I post 2 videos a week, so please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you can be reminded when I do. Please also consider becoming a member at Motivationeer.com. Your membership really supports this channel. Thank you. There's a really great part of a poem, a Robert Browning poem, that says this. I've always kind of been inspired by this. It says, and I'll read it to make sure I get it word for word right. But a man's reach should exceed his grasp, or what's a heaven for? What he's basically saying there is ambition is more meaningful than our possessions. That's the journey, not the grabbing and the owning and the possessing the thing that we're reaching for. It's the aspiring for it, for what's above us, what's above the terrestrial, what inspires us to pursue something that's greater than us. It's part of how God designed us. We see God in heaven. Now, Robert Browning wasn't being godly here. He was just saying anything kind of out of our reach above our head. But that's the purpose of the heavens. It's where we see and say and speak of God being enthroned. Although we know it's in the spiritual realm. Why do we always look up? Because it's part of our aspiration. If we only reach for things that we can actually grab and get our hands around and hold tightly, we'll never realize our full potential. It is the reaching that matters. C.S. Lewis said it in kind of a different way, but I also love this quote and I want to read it as well. He said, "It was when I was happiest that I longed the most. The sweetest thing in all my life has been the longing." We don't often consider that once we're fulfilled, we do still long for more. I'm not going to get into the science of this. I've mentioned this at other times in other videos in this channel, but this is known scientifically as hedonic adaptation. Once we reach a certain level of happiness, we reset the bar and it's as if nothing ever changed. So we want to reach for more. This is how God designed us. This is really who we are. This is how we can even adapt when things go terribly wrong for us. We get to that new level and then things really are kind of okay. I see this as the essence of the parable of the talents. In this parable, Jesus tells a story about a man who was given 5 bags of money, a man who was given 2 bags of money, and then a man who was given 1 bag of money. Among those 3, 2 used them ambitiously, so ambitious that they doubled their output. The one that didn't use that bag of money ambitiously, he hid it. How did Jesus in his parable refer to those 2 that used it to double their output? Good and faithful servant. And the one that buried it, wicked and lazy servant. I'm going so far as to say, when we lack ambition, we are closer to that spectrum of wicked and lazy. There's reasons why we don't pursue it. We tell ourselves it's for righteous reasons, but ultimately there's a side of us that just doesn't want to pursue it, I believe. This is my personal opinion. Please feel free to disagree in the comments below. I want to hear your thoughts on this. People that aren't ambitious make up reasons why they aren't as well. So, if you've not been ambitious in a long time, think of what you've been telling yourself as to why you haven't been. What is it you're telling yourself that keeps you from being ambitious? But Shawn, what about being content with what we have? Isn't ambition another way of saying, I'm not content with what God's given me, I want more? I believe that this is a legitimate question for sure. In fact, I've been asked it quite a few times, but the answer, I believe, is a resounding no. That's not what we're saying when we're being ambitious. We're not saying, I'm not content with what God's given me. Most people cite the passage in Philippians 4:11 where Paul says, I have learned to be content in all circumstances. He wasn't saying, I'm choosing to kind of take things easy now and just be okay with little. No, He was saying, whatever God decides to give me, I'm going to be okay with it. Whatever I want or desire or pursue, if God has different plans, that's okay. We know this because of what he said in verse 13, 2 verses later. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. Now, we know he was talking about money, specifically because of what it says in the verse sandwiched between those two in verse 12, where Paul basically says, I have learned to live with a lot of money, and I've learned to live with not very much money. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. This is really, again, repeating the idea that it's not ambitious to pursue money. We're not talking about ambition and pursuing money together. We're talking about doing the most that we can with what we've been given. And if God says no, then in those moments, even with this amazing ambition, we decide to be content with God's decision. And that is a beautiful thing. The key, in my opinion, is always understanding our motive. Whether we fall on that, what I've called the wicked lazy side of the spectrum, or the side of the spectrum that Paul wrote to Timothy about in 1 Timothy chapter 6. It starts in verse 12. It's a pretty long section of verses. I'm not going to read them all, but I am going to say Paul wrote to Timothy, godliness with contentment is great gain. And he did so to teach Timothy how to address the people that were pursuing great wealth within his congregation, which I think was in Ephesus. Basically, Paul is teaching Timothy it's always best to put righteousness and godliness first. Teach those who are pursuing wealth not to do it. Godliness with contentment is way better, and I believe that as well. Our ambition is not supposed to be to gain money, to gain fame and fortune. I believe that's unrighteous. That's not going to get us where we ultimately want to go, and that's closer to God. It's always about a godliness first. Matthew 6:33, of course, seek first the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well. I believe we can see that is in the light of what Paul experienced in Philippians 4. I can be content whatever amount of money I have because he sought righteousness first. To close, I think a great guidance for us is the essence of what it says in part of Romans 12:2. Once we are transformed by the renewing of our mind, then we can test and prove what God's will is. And whatever we do, whatever thing that we try, whatever we ambitiously pursue, if God says no, if God says yes, if God says wait, maybe, whatever it is, as it ends in Romans 12:2, that decision is good, pleasing, and perfect. We pursue it, we try it, and God's will be made known, and then we can say, God, your will is good, pleasing, and perfect. Ambition is a great thing. Let's first check our motives, and then let's go be ambitious. Try things. Experiment, knowing that God's going to make it clear to us. And then, whatever happens, we can be content because we put the kingdom first. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe for 2 new videos each week. Tell me in the comments below about your career situation, and I'll make a video for you with a shout out. You can also become a member at Motivationeer.com. Your career is not just a way to make a living, it's a way to transform the world.